Well, there we have the beginning of the orchard. So throughout the last couple years, every year I buy as many trees as I can, as many trees as we can afford. Sometimes we get them at the end of the season on discount, and sometimes we get them at the beginning, try to get the biggest ones. So last year we planted these 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 back here. These have done pretty well. Most of these are all from Family Farm and Home. I still have the tags on most of these. I need to record what kind they all are actually on a map or something, but these have been pretty good trees from Family Farm and Home. They're pretty good size. We're gonna get these ones planted today, and I'll just take you through the process that I use and the distance I spread them apart. I'll show you some of the trees that we have planted out front there, and we're gonna count. I can't remember exactly how many we have, but we'll see how many fruit trees we actually have here on the farm. So there's a couple different ways or techniques, I guess, when you get out to your homestead. If you're looking to start some kind of orchard. We had no fruit trees on this property, not a single one. We've been here for a few years now, and every year we just do little by little. That's one way to go. What we try to do is we pay more, usually between $23, $24, and $30, $35 per tree, but we try to get more established trees every year. So we're getting 5, 6, or 7 foot tall trees that have good size trunks, you know, that are good, you know, trees that can bear some weight and are ready to start producing apples. That way, usually the second year we have them, we get some apples from them, even sometimes the first. The other theory or way to do this is by, you know, you can go online and you can order a whole bunch of trees. Like every year you could order 50 trees, 20, 30 trees, whatever you can afford. They're much less expensive, but you're gonna get a much less established tree. So maybe you get a tree that's only 2 years old or 3 years old or something like that. Whereas most of these are 4 or 5 years old already. And so they're much further along. And so I think it ends up equaling out a little bit even over the years. You can get more trees, but you're waiting a lot longer to get apples. This way, we've got apples, pears, peaches, apricots, you know, all that kind of stuff. We can start getting some fruit a little bit sooner, and we've got some more established trees ready to go. So this is just some space out in our front here between our driveway and this front pasture. And I thought, what a great place to plant fruit trees, because you get apples that fall, you know, rotten apples and all kinds of stuff like that. And eventually these trees are going to produce more than we can handle. And so I thought, oh, I can just toss them over the fence. And the goats and the pigs and the horses will eat them all. And so that's kind of part of the plan here. So the other thing you got to think about is pollination. And so a lot of fruit trees require a different variety of tree to pollinate well with, and you get a better crop that way. And sometimes you have to have a partner. And so I think this one's a pear tree, and it will tell you that you should plant another pear variety to ensure good fruit production. So this one here, I have a pear right here, and then I think I have another pear right there, and I may even try to squeeze one more in here. I may cut a branch or two off this oak tree and try to sneak one in here too. But and the same with the apple trees. A lot of times they'll tell you, you know, it's good to have a partner with them. Different varieties will help get better pollination. So a lot of these are starting to bud out here. We're starting to get some leaves finally coming out. It's almost May 1st here, and so we'll start to get some flowers here over the next 30 days. I did come through this year and prune them, and that's the first time I've actually done that. I usually don't prune them for the first year or two. I just kind of let them grow and let them do their thing, and then I'll come through and start pruning. This one here, next year I'll probably get these lower branches off and try to encourage some higher branches to grow. Some of these are growing kind of weird. But these have grown pretty well. I mean, you can see they have pretty good size trunks here, and they've been pretty healthy. So these ones didn't really get done very well last year because of the whole pig attack thing. Happened right around this time last year, and this is the time I normally take care of all the fruit trees. But basically what I'll do, I'm gonna go get a load of wood chips this week, and I'll probably take you guys along on a separate video for this. But what I do is basically I'm gonna spread all this back, the old mulch. I just kind of spread it to the outside edge, and I'll put a fresh layer of compost in there, and then I'll recover this with wood chips. And so every year the circle of wood chips just gets pushed out a little bit further, and I'll tear some of this grass out and stuff and make this look nice. I don't really use any edging around them. You know, it may be something I'll do down the road. And I do need to get some kind of rabbit guards to put on the bottom of these. I've been lucky and not had any issues with rabbits or any other critters coming by here and chewing up the bottoms of the trunks. But I know I need to get some guards on these trees, because that definitely is something that happens. So it looks like we have 23 total fruit trees out here. And it's taken us a few years. It was about 3 years of planting to get to that place. And we'll get some more this year. We'll see what they have up there, when they go on sale, you know, towards the late spring, and they'll have them 10, 15, 20, 30% off, and we'll scoop up a bunch more. And so we'll keep planting out here until we have a nice orchard established. So the plan out here is to continue to steal more of this yard that I have to take care of and turn it into an orchard. So we're going to plant another row of trees here today, and then eventually we'll fill in this whole entire space that I use for gardening right now. We'll fill in this whole entire space with apple trees as well. So let's measure these out and dig some holes and get these in the ground. Well, it looks like if I measure it out, I'm a little too close to the edge there, so I'm going to make my path a little wider. So essentially, I am digging a hole at my measured spot. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. And I'm digging it out, and then I'm filling it with some fresh composted manures and other composts. These trees, the first year, there's a huge time of recovery. You know, they've been dug up, thrown in a pot, different soil. I mean, this is like some kind of a composted wood chip mix or something here, and you know, and also you've got, you know, big roots that have been cut. You can see, you can feel here. There's a big old root that came out there that's been cut. So there's a lot of recovery that needs to happen with these trees. So I'm not planting it too deep. In fact, I want the top here, this little graft spot. This is where they grafted on the Honeycrisp tree, which is what this breed is, onto a different type of rootstock here. And I want this to be the ground level, and I'm gonna kind of mound this up because I'm gonna have wood chips here. So I don't want this to sink down too far. I want to kind of have it mounded up just a little bit. I don't want a huge mound. I don't want this thing sitting a foot above the ground. But so then I'm just gonna backfill it with natural or native soil, and we'll compact it down, make sure it's kind of straight here. And you want to make sure that soil is all in contact with those little fine roots in there that we exposed. I'm going to come back in a couple days and make sure these have a good layer of wood chips around them, but for today this will be good. There's all kinds of different options for spacing. Generally with apple trees, these are semi-dwarf varieties, and so you can control their height, I think, and their how big they are pretty good. I've got 11 feet. I'm just making a intersection here from the two trees that I have planted. Now this first row, these are about 14 feet apart from each other. Generally I do between 10 and 12 feet for this spacing here between rows. Okay, so we're right around there. Well, 5 more apple trees in the ground. Still have a lot of work to do in the orchard. A lot of other things to plant and wood chipping, and I got to do edging and other things, but the trees are in the ground. I like to try to get these trees planted in the springtime pretty early. It's not going to hurt them, you know, if they're out even through a little bit of a frost and cold weather. The trees that we have are out right now, you know, they're handling it just fine, that have been planted and growing for a couple years. And so I don't think this is too early. You know, May 1st, last week of April, somewhere around there is fine usually to plant fruit trees up here in Michigan anyway. And I like to plant them just before it's gonna rain. So it's supposed to rain tomorrow and the next day. And so we're out here on this beautiful day, and they'll get a nice good soaking in there, and then I'll cover that area with wood chips. Wood chip the whole thing, and then we'll plant a bunch of other things around there that will spread out and kind of keep grass from growing and weeds and other things growing in there. There'll be some weeding to do and some manual work, but I want to keep that area pretty nice. And hopefully by next year, the goal is to have this whole area filled in with apple trees. So we'll have 20 apple trees here, and that'll be a pretty good start for the backyard anyway. So to us, it was really important to have an orchard. We eat a lot of fruit. Fruit is expensive. This is actually one of those things that it does take time, but it will certainly pay off financially just for our own consumption. You can can and preserve and make apples into so many things, and fruit in general. You can really easily can and easily, you know, bake and freeze and all kinds of other things with fruit. And so we want to grow as much fruit as possible. There's also income opportunities down the road, making cider, selling fresh apples and apple products and other things, and fruit products and preserves and jams and other stuff like that, with other kinds of fruit that will grow. And so fruit is a really core part of any homestead. It depends on your area. You're going to grow different kinds of fruit. Here in Michigan, apples are the thing. Michigan apples, it's just like Washington State, New York State, some other areas up here in the northern Minnesota, Wisconsin, apples grow really well here. Honeycrisp apples in particular, they grow really well here in the colder weather. The apples need that cold fall, those cold temperatures at night, and the sugar builds up in those apples, and man, are they good. One of my favorite fruits for sure, and they grow well here, and so that's what we're growing, and we'll be growing as many as we can afford every single year. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the orchard video update. You'll see more of this, and maybe we'll have some extra money, we'll get some more apple trees this year. I don't know, we'll see. So we'll take you guys along for the orchard creation, and as it matures, harvesting apples and maybe building a cider press and making apple cider. I have lots of great ideas, as I always do. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on the video today, guys. Always appreciate it. Subscribe if you want to follow along. I'd love to have you tag along. Lots of farming, gardening, DIY things, building things, fixing things, and anything else that we can do out here on the homestead or the farm. And so I'd love to have you tag along for all that. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.